berries.
Welcome to the Buckhorn Podcast. This is Martelle, and with me is Randy, and today we have a new host, or not necessarily new, but he's been on the show once during the phone call episode 1. We have Garett. What's up, Garett?
Hey, how's it going?
That's what I'm mentioning.
Hi.
Slow clap for Garett.
How long did it take you to set up your whole phone rig just for that?
I had to find
7
that thing.
seconds.
This was a slow clap? That sounded like somebody with wooden shoes, like coming in through the back door.
It took me 15 minutes to find a fucking slow clap for that.
You could have just told me, and you and I could have just surprised him with it. Probably.
I know. I was looking for sound effects. I spent an hour and a half looking for a sound clip board today for an Android phone, and none of the shit worked.
They used to just have those on the E-Bombs World, just like set up and...
Yeah, you just go right there and just...
I know. It was awful. I spent way too much time trying to find something. I'm just going to have to go buy like a Korg or something that I can just program, and so I can just sit here and hit buttons. Anyway. Hey, what's going on, guys?
I feel welcome. I'm glad that you had to download people off the internet to make me feel like I was here.
You spent an hour and a half.
I spent an hour.
You.
I spent time looking for that for you.
He's not done any of that for me.
That's
I
fair.
didn't do. Yeah, I don't care about you.
Well, that's fair.
You're
fair.
You're just here.
I'm glad
time.
Garett's here, though. I really am. It's nice to finally have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad
to be
you're able to come back.
Yeah.
All the feedback I've gotten on our podcast episodes so far have been that they're great. I have been told that I have a voice for radio, which I took as I do not look good in front of a TV screen. So
Usually they say you have a face for radio.
that's what I think. That's what they were getting at. The first episode, a lot of my car buddies were like, "Hey, we liked your Tercel story. We like you guys talking about cars, but man, it's like you were our season 1 of Parks and Rec." People were like, "Man, that whole thing with the phone, like it wasn't working. I had to get through that part." So it was like, I was like, "No, you guys, like seriously, Garrett's a good guy.
Well,
give him a chance."
I couldn't hear you. So like I would hear like mumble, 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 mumble. And I'm like, okay. Oh, they want me to say something. Yeah, I'm driving. And there's like mumble, 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 waiting. Yeah, going over a bridge, sorry. Mumble, mumble, mumble.
And now
mumble.
you're here in person.
And
Yes.
now, yeah.
Own microphone.
In real life.
Well,
Yeah,
I think we got the phone issue figured out. I went through and kind of messed around, did some research. We may be able to take phone calls or make phone calls now.
Okay.
Did you pay your bill finally?
But no.
No, he just
No, I
he just
use
break it
internet
from
phone.
the neighbors.
Hey, do not tell Sprint that I'm here, please.
Sprint. I'm
Yes.
using Singular. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm on Verizon now because Sprint made us mad and we didn't pay our bill, and that was that. So we showed them, right?
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
times.
expensive side.
I'm on a family plan.
I'm prepaid. I don't care. I switch like every 2 months.
So
Doesn't matter.
you never have to pay your bill that way.
Yeah,
How
there you
convenient.
No. I paid my bill since then, but
I
Sprint
switch
made me
every
mad.
2 months, and I change my name and my address just because
well.
it's convenient.
You know.
So, Garett, what have you been up to in the last, what have we done? 5 episodes? 4 episodes?
I think this will be episode 6. So
yeah, so what's been going on in the last 4 episodes?
Well, just working and got a family, travel around, got lots to do, and
So nothing exciting. Okay.
no, nothing exciting at all.
That-
just a lot of work and
that
just a
was
lot
a
of
letdown.
being busy. No, it was a huge letdown.
So we were
Listen to your
talking
podcast.
briefly. We were talking briefly, everybody, before we start. We're going to talk conspiracy theories today. We're going to kick that off. But while we were setting up, we were talking. Martelle has a vast collection of different bourbons, and I commented about how I think I've tried 3 or 4 of his 29 or 57 bottles.
I think I'm up to 34 bottles now, which isn't
wasn't
much.
far off.
You're not far off. I picked up 4 more while I was down on vacation last week.
And we got to talking, and I had just jokingly said Zima's back, and Garett asked if it was Smirnoff Ice, and we informed him it was malt liquor. Garett, you don't know what malt liquor is.
I don't think so. I know what malt is and I know what liquor is.
Yeah, well, you can't mix malt and liquor. Maybe you can, but I wouldn't advise it.
Did you say molten licorice?
Molten licorice.
Molten liquor. It's like a feud cart.
A feud cart.
Yes.
That's what you get if you win.
That's
Molten
what
licorice.
You get molten licorice on a feud cart.
So I asked Garrett. I said, did you grow up in an affluent part of town? Because everywhere I went, when you grow up poor, you know what OE is or Mad Dog or anything. So Garrett, why don't you let us know how you've never ever seen or heard of malt liquor before?
Okay. I have never ever seen or heard of malt liquor before.
Thank you.
Apparently. So yeah, I don't know. I grew up in a house that was kind of, I don't know, I guess almost like afraid of liquor, and then I graduated and went to a Christian school where if you drank liquor, you would get kicked out and flogged in the town square.
Tarred and feathered.
So I only picture when you say kicked out, tarred, feather, flogged, like the shaming scene from Game of Thrones, where Cersei is shamed in the middle of town. She's walked in the middle of town naked with a bell being rung.
Yeah, pretty much like that.
Yeah.
Except not naked because there are sexual connotations there, and again, it was a Christian college. And
Damn.
you were led out into the middle of the town square in pleated pants and a button-up shirt tucked in.
yeah, it was
With a
khaki,
patent leather belt.
khakis and a polo.
And a chastity belt.
Khakis and a polo.
Khakis and a polo
Oh,
are
they
a
got
chastity
got
belt.
progressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal my first year there because we were allowed to wear a polo instead of dress shirts, and they were like, "You guys are really lucky. Wasn't so easy back when I was in school there."
Last year.
So yeah, the millennials, am I right?
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, I found something out last week. I was reading one of those articles about baby boomers versus Gen X versus millennials, and what are they calling the new ones? I don't know, whatever is
Who
after
knows?
The
millennials.
16 and pregnant generation.
Yeah,
I was
well, I
raised
think
by a
that's
16-year-old.
millennials too. I don't know. I think this
Yeah.
is
Catfish
the
annuals.
SoundCloud rapper generation.
Yes.
But I found out that technically I'm a millennial.
Yeah.
They said millennials started like 1981 or something.
I was thinking like 83 or something, but yeah.
Well, I was born in 83. I was like, son of a.
Yeah, it's like 83, and like there's like a 77 or 78 to 82 is like Zennials or some shit
Gen
like
So
Y.
that.
there's a depending on how urban or rural you are, that kind of pushes it back and forth a little bit too. So
Yeah.
if you're from a more rural area, technically you're kind of a few years behind. So
Fair enough.
That
So-
is
so I am Gen X
That's
then.
part of it too. That's
Yeah.
why a lot of people,
Okay.
you're close to the borderline and you're from a more rural area, so that's going to make you feel a little bit
Slower.
older, slower.
okay.
I don't consider myself a needy shithead, so I'm not a millennial.
So
But I was born in 80, so
I love the media's obsession with millennials though, because like every article is like, millennials are the reason why Sears is closing. Millennials are the reason that malls are desolate. Millennials are the reason there's global warming, and it's like, what did I do? I didn't.
But they are responsible for getting the animatronic animals kicked out of Chuck E. Cheese.
Well,
Because we never had that problem when I was a kid.
to be
Yeah,
fair,
and-
those animals were out of line. And again, if they hadn't been drinking so much malt liquor or whatever was there, then there wouldn't be an issue.
Hey, you know what? When a band goes on stage, you know what you're getting into. You pay to see a show. They're going to put on that show, whether it's what you like. or
I
not.
paid to hear Freebird, and I was going to hear Freebird, okay?
Yeah, well, when the
I would
gorillas' hands
love to
can't touch
hear-
the keyboard, probably not going to happen.
I'd love to hear Chuck E. Cheese's band play Freebird. That would be
Well,
amazing.
there was a bird in the band. Maybe she could sing it, and then. Okay, we should.
That'd be great.
We're going way off track here.
That's all right. So
So is this a conspiracy theory that you think they were lip syncing? You don't think they were playing their music?
they are not Milli Vanilli.
You know what?
What about like an
I'm just
Ashley
gonna
Simpson
blame that
thing?
one on the rain and move on. We'll just, Ashley Simpson. I don't even know what to think.
Oh.
I forgot Ashley Simpson existed until you just said that.
You know
to be
what?
honest with you.
You mentioned Ashley Simpson, and then we're talking about conspiracy theories. There's a great one around Avril Lavigne.
Go on.
Supposedly, she is dead, and
What?
the Avril Lavigne that's out there is actually a stand-in.
Huh.
That she
Okay, write
started
this down in
suffering.
your notebook because we're
she-
gonna do research.
she
and do
started-
an episode on dead musicians that aren't dead.
She started suffering from depression,
Okay,
and
About
they
the time she married the guy from Nickelback, I imagine?
no, even before that.
Okay.
Chad Kroger's.
I'm trying to remember now. She started suffering from depression, and
So
they
she
pulled
got-
in a stand-in, and that is who. And she
And that's
ended
why
up
she don't
killing
sing
herself.
anymore.
Well, that's why she ended up killing herself. The real Avril Lavigne ended up killing herself, and she ended up the stand-in ended up taking over and doing all the shit that Avril Lavigne did, and then
Like hanging
there's
out
that
with
whole
skater boys.
well, there's the skater boy. If
So
you
he
look-
was a skater boy, and then she really did say, "See you later, boy."
yeah,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
but there's this whole transition from like this emo punk rock to this pop rock bullshit that Avril Lavigne does now.
And that has nothing to do with
I
the
didn't know
market
Avril Lavigne
whatsoever.
was still making, or pseudo Avril Lavigne was even making music. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was a thing.
They said the same thing about Paul McCartney. Did you guys heard that one?
Yeah, I've heard that one
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, and all the secret messages because of the mass suicides that we're going to follow and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, I've heard that. I just heard that one the other day.
yeah.
Crazy.
There's something similar floating around about Kurt Cobain, that he was disappointed that Nirvana got so big, so he faked his own death and then came back as what's the frontman from Weezer,
Oh,
Rivers Cuomo.
yeah.
And the similarities are baffling. Kurt Cobain was like a short, like blonde-headed guy, and Rivers Cuomo is like a short guy that also kind of has hair, and
But he has short
they
hair.
both sing and play guitar.
That is concrete evidence. You should write that down too. We're gonna look into some of these. We're gonna have to do a musician episode at this point because the Nirvana is one of, I don't know. This is gonna sound so cheesy when I say it, but I guess my most influential bands growing up.
What a millennial thing to say.
It is. I knew them before they were cool, so I totally get where Kurt's coming from.
Bone Thugs and
I feel
Harmony
like
before they were
boom,
cool.
Boom, boom, boom. No, but
Yeah, I had Nirvana on my Spotify a long time before anybody else did. So
oh man, I still don't have Spotify. I feel like I'm becoming hipster accidentally because I feel like I'm too cool for certain things that everybody uses, like Spotify, and I still use Pandora.
I love Spotify. I haven't bought an album in like 8 years.
That's just thievery.
I still use Napster.
You're the only one. You gotta put
Metallica.
in a CD,
If anybody
upload
from
to
Metallica
Napster.
is listening to this, he does not use Napster. Okay.
It's a joke.
God,
Lars.
I hope Lars is listening because I'm still using Napster. Lars, eat shit.
I don't think he cares anymore.
God, I hope not because
He gave
he
up.
is the downfall of what Metallica was.
We could get into that. I actually saw one of those.
Dick.
There's a
Okay,
conspiracy
anyway.
theory for you. Lars is the drummer of Metallica. That's all I got.
Prove it.
He is. I don't know how it happened. He's awful.
I will say I don't think it's a conspiracy.
I think it is.
Hey, he is a great drummer that knows how to play one rhythm.
He plays whatever rhythm the guitar player's playing. He's like a guitar player with drumsticks.
You just don't understand, Garrett.
He's a mockingbird.
All right, so let's get rolling on some other conspiracy theories. What we made a list on our Facebook, and some people responded. So, what did we talk about? What was that first one we had?
Oh, shit! Now you're gonna have to make me. Here, I'm gonna have to bring it back up.
Well, see, you're supposed to be running the show.
Yeah, I
I'm just a
know, and I
co-host.
shut down everything on my computer so that
I'm the Robin to your Howard Stern.
we wouldn't get sound through the headphones.
I look just like her. Is what I'm saying.
You do. You look just like Robin Quivers. Moon landing.
Moon landing.
The
real
moon
or
landing.
fake?
Is it real or fake?
The moon or the moon landing?
Moon
Well, the
landing.
Tell me where
moon
we're
the
starting
moon
from.
is fake,
Yes.
but was the moon landing real?
You can't land on something that's fake.
Yes, you can.
Prove it.
The holodeck in Star Trek is
I have
fake.
No clue what you're talking about.
Either do I.
I watched Star Trek with my dad when I was a kid, and I would just ask him to turn it off because it was so boring, and he wouldn't.
So
That's all I know about Star Trek.
So the idea behind the moon landing is that the moon landing was actually filmed in Hollywood, and the moon landing never actually happened. And Stanley Kubrick is the one who filmed the moon
Yeah.
landing
Yes.
in Hollywood.
So let's just do, since we're going to try and get through a list on this first episode, why don't we just go through and say what we feel initially, and then we'll come back and hit these harder on a later episode.
Okay. All right.
So, moon landing, I'm going to say it's real on the sole fact that Buzz Aldrin knocked some dude's teeth out for saying it was fake, and he was like 84 when he did it. And I love that. So, I'm going to say it's real just for Buzz.
Okay. Garrett?
Honestly, when it comes down to it, I think it's real just because all of the conspiracy theories that I've looked at around it you can disprove all of the conspiracy theories. You just can't quite disprove the moon landing. So I think it was a huge long shot. It still blows my mind that we would go to something like that and then not go back for 40 years or however long it's been since we've been back. I mean,
Right.
Trump's going to send us back. That's okay.
Right.
And then to Mars. But so, we're going to regain our footing there. But I want to believe that it was faked, but I can't buy into it.
All right. What do you
All
think, Martell?
I think it was real. Same thing. I mean, you got an astronaut who gets pissed off at the age of 84, punches a dude in the teeth.
Can Can I just play devil's advocate here?
No, go
If you're
ahead.
84 years old, you can be pissed off about anything and punch anybody in the
You
teeth.
could. I mean, he probably needed a little bit of prune juice. I mean, he got.
Well, here's the
wasn't
thing
he-
too.
I would've
Maybe
punched
it
somebody
was
in-
fake, and he just got tired of holding it for 40 years, and he got tired of people yelling at him about it for 40 years, so he just went off. That could be true.
That could be the case as well. But
I have a similar reaction when an ad pops up when I'm watching a YouTube video. So
You punch somebody?
I don't think, yeah,
That explains your kid's reaction every time you raise your hand.
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you might want to see therapy.
All right,
That's
so we're gonna have
what
to
that's what
so-
our caseworker said.
we're gonna have to all do some research and come back and hit that one hard.
So, but we do all kinds of. We've got the private sector now for space travel. I mean, it's not like we're not doing space travel. I mean, we have documented.
It's kind of like
We have documented flights of space travel,
Right.
either at the atmosphere range or even up into space. So it's not beyond. I don't think it's beyond us to be able to even get to the moon at this point. I mean,
Well,
the SR-71 did atmospheric travel, right? I mean,
yeah, I guess.
I think it did. That may be.
Were you
just
flying it,
pulling-
Martell?
I'm not the
Fuck yeah, it was.
brightest
Okay.
crown in the shed, to be honest with
I
you.
mean, it was. I think that was in the 70s, but I wasn't born yet. But yeah, I was flying it. I'm reincarnated from the pilot,
Gen
who's
Xers
still alive.
always lying.
But I don't think it's beyond us to be able to get to the moon, land on the moon,
We
leave
got
a
a
footprint.
robot on Mars,
Right,
So we can obviously
so-
make the distance. But my thing is, if we did fake the moon landing, wouldn't they feel the urge under all this pressure to go back? I feel like we went there and they went, "Hey, there's a bunch of rocks up here. Why waste all the money and time to go back to that if there's nothing worth exploring?" You know, so that's kind of my thing.
Well,
My theory is that there is real alien life, but that there's not real intelligent alien life. That actually
saying
what
that's-
happened was Buzz Aldrin, he stepped out of the spaceship, he heard them blaring Black Eyed Peas, as loud as could be, and he was like, get back, kids, get back in the car, we're going. And they
So-
turned around, they came back.
Houston,
as
we have a
as part
problem.
of that, there's been speculation around there being alien life form on the moon,
Right.
and then whatever. So that's a whole other part of the conspiracy thing of landing on the moon and them not going to the dark side of the moon, which
is a good album.
is a good album. But what really happened up there, we'll never know because no one's ever talking about it. But maybe that's the reason we didn't go back. Maybe there was contact made. Maybe whatever the case happened that was up there, and they're like, okay, we're there. There's documented video of them being on the moon. I mean, we can go out on the internet today and see what video they're actually showing us.
Right.
But what video aren't they showing us while they were up there? Was there something that happened while they were up there that they were like, fuck it, we're not coming back?
Right.
So
Could be.
maybe that's why we haven't gone back.
We need. I was going to say I don't want to spend too much time on this since we're trying to get through a list, but we need to do an episode maybe on not just the moon landing, but intelligent life elsewhere in general,
Right.
UFOs and Area 51. So jot that down. Alien/UFOs. I think that's one we could. It seems like we could all really get into because I think we all have questions, basically, like everybody else.
I have answers. I don't have questions.
Oh, I have questions. So
And I have
We're just going to
answers.
call Garett Radio Shack.
Radio Shack because he has
You
answers.
got questions, he's got answers.
Millennials
Because he's
closed Radio
defunct.
Shack, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they did. They turned them into Sprint stores,
Well,
Not
and then you left
Circleville.
Sprint
I
Sport.
think in Circleville it's like a rent to own or something.
In Lancaster, it's an AT&T store now, but
There you go.
I think Sprint bought up the Radio Shacks that were left over. All right, so we've got the next on the list. We talked about, or we mentioned Nessie. Is it real, or is it just a bunch of Scottish drunk guys?
Loch Ness Monster, I say, has a lot more to do with alcohol than it does a giant lake lizard. I mean, this is one that you can get online. Anybody that's listening you can Google this and find out that somebody came forth and said, yeah, I totally made this figurine and put in a lake and took a picture, and it's real grainy.
that's because
So,
that's what the government paid them to say.
Well, I wonder how much
You
they
could.
paid, because I'm about to put some in a lake, and then have the government pay me to... I'm gonna breed a giant lizard. So what do you think for real, Garrett?
What do you say?
I don't know enough about it. So let's say yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's in there. They just can't find it.
Okay, so I'm going to branch off of Nessie and say, yeah, I think it is possible that there is something, mainly because you go out and you think about what we've explored as just part of the oceans in general. We don't know what is in the oceans. We've got squids that are 80 feet long. We've
Right.
got things in the oceans that are huge.
I've heard we've explored something like 5%. Yeah.
5% of the ocean. The Marianas Trench. We've got what's that director's name? He did Titanic. He did
James Cameron?
James Cameron. So Cameron is dedicated. Basically, the only reason he even makes movies is so he can explore the ocean. For the most part. So he's dedicating some of his wealth to exploring the ocean and trying to figure out what the hell's going on down there. But there are other places in the world, if you go out and research, where there are other monsters. There's giant serpents in the Amazon. You've got the Loch Ness Monster. There's the Champlain Monster up in the Great Lakes.
Never heard of that. Lived in Ohio my whole life and never heard of that.
There's one up there.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, these are all allegedly. There's all been
here's my
sightings.
thing, and
There's the
agree with y'all.
Kraken.
I
mean-
agree with you all about the ocean because the ocean alone really terrifies me more than any other place on earth. If I'm being honest, I love swimming. I've been in the ocean a few times.
There's a rest stop on Route 93 near Jackson, Ohio that would
I
terrify you
know
worse than
exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is it on the way to Waverly?
I've been there.
past Waverly.
It's even further.
Jesus.
I've actually been to that rest stop, but with the ocean, man, you get swept out of the ocean, you're screwed. You know, you're done. Now that we have sharks swimming right up to like Myrtle Beach, and
Oh yeah.
people are
There were
dying.
some
like
in
5
the
people
ocean
died
last
in the Outer
week.
Banks this summer just by being swept out by the current. You know,
Yeah.
so the ocean's really a big, terrifying thing we don't know about.
My friend's wife got her arm bit off last summer.
Seriously?
Yeah, for real. They were in, I think, the Bahamas.
Okay, so there are. I mean,
So
obviously
tiger shark.
Yeah, I mean, there's things in the ocean that are terrifying, and there's even more we don't know about because I believe there are creatures that live at such depths that we will never know about them.
Oscar the Grouch.
Maybe it's exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe that reminded me of one of our other episodes. Maybe that's I haven't got in trouble for that, so I know my wife hasn't listened to it. But here's the thing: while you guys were talking about the ocean, I looked up how deep Loch Ness is. Guess how deep it is?
It's
Is this in liters or feet?
Feet.
Or
it's
meters?
in feet. It's like 600 or 700
It's
feet.
745 feet. So here's
Right.
my
It's
thing.
pretty damn deep.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
But if Nessie is as big as the claims make, there's no way that she was seen once throughout history.
Oh no. Nessie's been
seen
seen several hundred times. There
Why
are,
is there only one picture then?
oh, there's multiple pictures. There's
seen
there's
these.
the one picture that everybody uses, but there are multiple pictures of the Loch Ness Monster all over the internet and video and everything.
So for me, I'm going to say I'm going to table this and do more research
Okay.
for an episode.
All right.
That's where I stand on it as of today.
All right. So then we'll move on to the next one. We've got Sasquatch
Sasquatch.
or the Yeti or the Abominable Snowman
It just depends on what
or
region.
a
I feel like they're all
Yowie.
cousins.
or the Yowie, depending on where you're at. It's got several different names. Ape Man, Skunk Ape.
Now you're getting some of my high school nicknames.
You still look like a skunk ape.
Oh, thank you.
So,
So we're talking, does he exist?
we're talking, does he exist?
Garrett?
Absolutely.
All right.
Met him once. He worked in the electronics section at a Walmart.
You're sitting next to
Working
him.
midnights. Actually, take off the headphones for a second. Yep, definitely.
So here's my take on him. And again, it's like you said at the Amazon, there's places we have not explored.
Right.
Where all this so-called evidence has been found are places that have been discovered.
Right.
We've never really seen him. And we talked about this with the stupid state laws. If he's been seen, especially in today's day, 50, 60 years ago, somebody said I saw him. You can't prove they didn't see him. Nowadays, seriously, people are getting beat up on the street. What do people do? They grab their phone. People see a pretty sunset. They grab their phone. People always grab their phone and take pictures or video, and I can't believe that he exists, but we haven't seen him yet, or we haven't. Everything that I've seen, it's kind of like you were talking about. Everything I've seen, talking about the moon landing, all the evidence I've seen can be disproven. Mm-hmm. The footprints, the casting, the footprints, the tufts of hair. I've not seen any concrete evidence that he exists. Is there some large ape-man hybrid-like creature that exists? Possibly. I'd equate him more to maybe a
Randy Johnson, pitcher of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
yeah, something like that. I was going to say silverback gorilla, but a Randy Johnson, if you will. That it may exist and we just don't fully understand it. But the typical Sasquatch that you see, people wearing T-shirts. People have TV shows over and actually have made a living on these stupid TV shows. I can't see it.
He's the one holding the camera. Where do you think the videos of all of these fights, of all of these bloopers and internet fails are coming from? He's holding the camera, and that's how he avoids the camera.
Sasquatch started World Star?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Haven't you
And
seen
Homestar
Harry
Runner.
and the Hendersons?
Sasquatch is real. Moving on. We've just proven that one. What's
Yeah.
next on the list?
Well, I'm going to put my answer in. So I'm going to
Oh,
say,
yeah. Sorry, I totally forgot about you.
You.
We got Garett back,
Well,
and
yeah.
I'm used to two people.
hey, whatever. I'm on the fence about this one. So I sat this weekend and watched a couple videos. So supposedly they're here in Ohio. Most of the sightings in Ohio are at Salt Fork. So middle of the state, Salt Fork State Park. I think it's in Tuscarawas County, I think. So there's a whole Squatching community over there. They do their own thing. They're a bunch. Some of the guys are just completely weird. But there's been some compelling videos, and then there's just been some videos where you just cannot tell what it is, whether it just looks like a backpacker that was sitting in the woods and just got up and walked off, or if it's a guy in an ape suit, or what it is. And then some of the other things that I've watched are, it just looks like a guy in a shitty ape suit.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure about this one. Now, some of the other stuff that I've listened to, like some of the other podcasts, like another podcast I listened to, they talk about, they're in Australia, so they talk about the Yowie or the ape man or whatever it is, being an interdimensional being who has being controlled by aliens, and he can walk in and out of dimensional force fields and through wormholes and all this other stuff. So
Randy Johnson.
yeah, Randy Johnson, he can throw a fastball and
That's why he killed that bird.
Kill a bird.
kill a bird
was hungry.
and step through that wormhole.
That wasn't a pitcher throwing a fastball. That was a Sasquatch hunting.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
It's a
There you
beautiful
go.
thing, nature.
That's why everybody in the whole stadium's shocked, and he's just like, got him.
Whatever.
Yeah, they always cut the video off right before he picks it up and eats it. But
So I'm kind of...
Randy Johnson is Sasquatch. Change our minds.
But at the same time, I can't say that I believe in the Loch Ness Monster and not come back and say I don't believe in Sasquatch. Because
Yeah, you've kind of taken a stance.
I've got to go with... I want to be on the fence about it, but if I believe in the Loch Ness Monster and there being a dinosaur roaming the planet, a plesiosaurus, then I got to go with a gigantic
That's a
ape
big
man.
word for you.
I know.
I'm proud of you.
Plesiosaurus. I got to go with there's an ancient ape man walking the planet.
All right. Well, I want to do more research, and we'll revisit that one. Maybe we'll do a one episode. We'll cover both.
We can
Sasquatch and
cover cryptozoology all in one.
You're using a lot of big words today.
I know, right? You like that?
proud of you.
Cryptozoology. The next one is more of a touchy one. 9/11.
Oh.
Government cover-up
So here's
not?
Here's the thing with 9/11. I made a mistake. Now, obviously, whether it's a conspiracy or not, whether the government did or not, we all believe that it's very unfortunate that innocent lives were lost.
Yes.
That, as long as we get that out there, it's a real crappy situation either way. I still to this day don't fully know what happened. I'd like to believe the planes hit, and then I got the YouTube one day when I was off work, and my wife and kid weren't home, and I watched like 8 hours of hour-long 9/11 videos made by different people. Because if I'm going to look at nut jobs making videos, I want to look at a lot of them, and try and see the similarities.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it is. I may be off my estimation. It may have been more like 14 or 15 hours. But anyway.
That's even more. That's
Oh, yeah.
almost twice as much time. I did math.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened to you?
I can't read, but I can kind of do math on the fly.
But no, I watched
Sometimes.
this video, and I've told people, I was like, I don't think that the government done it the way that a lot of these people are saying. But when you look at, like the demolition of buildings, you can actually see when the towers fall, explosions happening, in sequence, like you would a demolition. So I talked to somebody that I knew that had done some demo work with explosives.
was this person that you knew in the Al Qaeda or no?
No,
Okay.
definitely not. I believe half Native American, half French. So take that for what it's worth.
ISIS.
We'll call him Mike because that's his name. So I was talking to Mike, and he said no. He's like, that totally is how that building would fall if a plane hit it. I don't know if I believe Mike.
So
to me, there's a lot of questions that have not been answered. The Pentagon, the hole in the Pentagon, there's no plane wings that took out light poles or trees. And I have to imagine, you'd have to see the video, but the way that the plane hit the Pentagon, there's no evidence of wings hitting anything. So a lot of people are saying it was like some kind of a missile.
A missile, yeah. I've heard that.
And
I've heard that theory.
I'm like, there's no way they'd blow up the Pentagon. Well, you know, the Pentagon was blown up on this part, and all these people were in the other part, and this, you know, so I was kind of sitting there going, man, now I don't know. I was so sure for like 15 years that Al-Qaeda attacked. So, you know, we trained people to fly planes. Those people got on planes and flew them into our buildings. And really, that's still what I believe happened. But now I've just got questions that I can't answer.
So I'm going to put my thought into this. I still think it was a terrorist attack. I don't think, mainly because our U.S. government cannot keep a secret. Just flat out.
I disagree strongly.
There are certain things that they can. Something like this, there's too much at play. There are too many people that would have to be involved with that.
What about MK Ultra? They kept that secret for decades.
But there weren't as many people involved with that would have to be involved with this. And that's another thing. We can listen to MK Ultra. MKULTRA. MK Ultra.
Is that an alcohol? Just
Yeah, it's a malt liquor.
oh,
It was also a Japanese kids cartoon.
you know, I thought you guys said Michelob Ultra.
We abbreviated for brevity's sake.
Yeah. There would be too many people at play to take down
How so, though?
2 buildings.
4 people on planes?
No.
Full of people in the know.
No, just the demolition work that would have to go into all that, the planes, there would just be
The moon landing is kind of the same thing. You'd have to have thousands of people
Yeah,
at play to make that work. And
there would just be way too much.
Would you know? I feel like the less people involved, the more easily you could sell the story. Like the moon landing.
but
The less people to know, the less chance some get out, right?
Right, the less people know, but there'd be way too many people.
If you're filming on a soundstage, how many people do you need? 3 astronauts, a camera guy, and a director?
none of those things happen at 9/11, Randy.
No, I do believe that it was a terrorist attack. I really do. But like I said, the way the buildings fell, and maybe that is how the buildings fall. And then you're looking at what's his face that just bought the buildings and just took out the huge insurance policy on them, and then the buildings were too old to sell or whatever. And then there's just a lot of things. The other thing, cell phone calls from a plane. Back in 2001, I could not drive from Circleville to Columbus without dropping a call. So how are they flying hundreds of miles an hour through the air on a cell phone?
They're flying on planes.
Is it because they switched from Sprint to Verizon?
I think so.
That's weird.
Makes sense. No, I mean, I think that kind of like Martelle said, you know, that I have faith that a project this size, the government would screw up. I don't think the government could pull this off. Just knowing what I know about the government and how inept they are, and how they mess up everything.
That's it.
That
It's
they
what
touch.
we know.
Do you remember when they launched the Obamacare website and it broke for everybody? That they couldn't even make a website right.
Yeah,
so
but here's
you're
the difference,
trying
too.
to fly multiple planes into buildings and get them to fall down just so.
Hear me out on this,
Frame
then.
somebody that's halfway around the world. I don't think you can do it.
Hear me out on this. The Obama website, we don't care if that screws up or not. Let the idiots do it. But the powers that be, who use the government as a face, the ones really here's the thing. Do we really think the president knows every single thing that happens day in and day out, all the behind-the-scenes stuff? Because I don't.
Are you talking about a new world order?
Deep state.
I don't know. We're talking conspiracy theory, so I'm throwing it out. I also like playing devil's advocate. So I'm not necessarily saying I believe that the government did 9/11.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't know that they didn't have some sort of knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, like a Pearl
There's just
Harbor,
a
Pearl
lot
Harbor
of
type
that.
thing. I think.
Yeah.
I
there's
think that's
something that could have been done. As far as the demo in the building, seriously, I feel like they have people who have the knowledge that they're like, hey, we're going to hire you, rig up some explosives in the elevator shaft or wherever. 4 dudes learn how to fly planes. I mean, yeah, you're talking. It's a big operation to pull that off, but you don't need thousands of people involved. 10 to 20 could have done it.
No, I don't think
There
it
are
would have
people
been.
that hijack planes by themselves. Look at DB Cooper. He hijacked a plane. How many people knew he was going to do it? 1? Him?
But he didn't. But there weren't. But in DB Cooper's case, it's not him flying into a plane. It's not him hijacking the plane.
Flying into a building.
Flying into a building, setting up demolition.
Yeah, I get
organize.
that.
You know, it's
But I'm
it's
just
all
saying
of those
there's-
factors that
there
that
are a lot that would go into that if the
it's
dim is involved.
It's
What
DB
about-
Cooper hijacking a plane,
and then bailing.
bailing out with a
then
shitload
being-
of money
and then being
in
Burt Reynolds.
the northwest
Without
of
a paddle.
Oregon, and
So what about this then? What if the whole plane flying in the building thing was right, but there was no demo? It's just 4 dudes wrecking planes into buildings.
I think that's pretty possible. I think if you look into the events that happened that day, we could probably do a whole episode on 9/11 alone too.
I think we're going to.
But basically, what they did was they took George Bush and they shoved him on Air Force One, and they kept him. I believe they kept him in the air
Yeah.
most of the day because they were scared to put him on the ground anywhere. And Dick Cheney assumed the role of president. And Dick Cheney did all of the presidential stuff. He sat in on all of these councils and all these panels that he wasn't supposed to be in on, and he ran the whole country that day. And I think that there are people out there who make a really good case that maybe even President Bush didn't know, but that Dick Cheney had a big part of it as a means of, just him trying to take over the deep state, if you believe that kind of thing, justifying us to go into another war, in a war that's generated money and
absolutely.
Put us into other countries for 2 decades now.
Yeah.
well, and if that's the case, I mean, you've got Cheney, who isn't he the one who ran another like private sector company?
Oh yeah, almost all of them do. There's a lot of money to be
Well, I
made.
mean, he had like a private sector military company,
Right.
which would just benefit him in the long run anyway.
Yeah, definitely. There's so
I don't
much
do
money there.
politics typically.
Yeah, well,
All
they don't make that much money in politics. They make their money. They make their money from the things that they're able to impact.
right.
So
Right. All right. So
What's next?
the next topic.
We got some good episodes coming up.
Oh yeah, and we've still got plenty of time.
Well, we got one we're going to eventually hit. Are we there?
Yeah.
let's do it.
Lay it on us. What is it?
Flat earthers.
Yes.
Flat Earth versus round Earth.
So I think
Wait, which one is the conspiracy again? You guys forgot to tell me in the show notes.
We let everybody decide for themselves.
Yeah,
here,
this
Garrett.
is-
We don't tell people what to think. We just tell them if they're wrong when they think it.
Okay.
right. So flat earthers. So I do, and I think for this year, because at work we do a white elephant gift at Christmas, and every year I theme mine.
Of course you do.
So and every year
What was last year's theme?
last year's theme was prohibition.
Yes.
So I built a crate. I put like all kinds of different alcohol. I put some moonshine in there. I put in a couple whiskey glasses. I think a box of wine, a couple
Malt liquor?
beers. No malt liquor. But I built like a crate, nailed it shut, supplied like a pry bar.
spray painted MK Ultra on the backside.
Did not.
What a letdown.
But I think I spray painted something on the side of the box though. I did spray paint something on the side of the box, and I made it look like an old like Prohibition style crate. And then in previous years, I did some other things, but they're always themed. I think this year, I'm going to try to figure out how to flatten a globe, and I'm going to do a flat earther white elephant gift.
Yes.
I want the Prohibition gift, but
Oh, it was amazing, and the guy who got it was kind of a douche.
so take it back.
He didn't even. He was just like, "Yeah, that's great."
Hey, moonshiners used to steal stuff all the time. Just go take it back.
I don't.
Put all
Even-
that time into it. And
he
didn't
doesn't
even
work for the
appreciate it.
company anymore.
No, probably because he became an alcoholic thanks to you.
Yeah, well, he got peach moonshine out of it.
Is that store brand peach moonshine? Or?
Yeah, I wasn't giving him good stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. So the flat Earth versus round Earth thing. Now, obviously, we've all been taught growing up that the Earth is round and you can see it from space. And
Lies. All of it.
then, well, yeah, because we talked about before where Pluto was a planet, now it's not. And then this
Now
week,
it is.
This week, I found out there's a new planet even further than Pluto,
Is it?
where they're saying Pluto was a planet, but then it wasn't because it's too far and small. But now it is. But then it wasn't. And now it is again.
And now it is again.
Now they're saying there's another planet. I think they said it takes like 14 years to orbit the sun
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
or something, like 14 of our years, I guess.
Well, you do know that there's another planet out there that's so big that we can't see it.
There
Called
is.
like Nubia.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't watch
it's-
sci-fi crap.
Oh
like
no
you do.
no no! It's called. I'll have to look this one up.
I don't watch Star Wars.
Anyway, you guys talk about
892.
flat
I've always.
earthers,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I'll tell you about
Oh,
this.
yeah, Garrett and I talk about flat Earth. We share a lot of memes, Garrett and I, we used to until he blocked me and his wife from Facebook. But,
Yep.
For totally unrelated reasons, by the way.
Teach you to do a podcast on cyclists.
No, right. Somebody got their party pants in a bunch.
Yeah, they did.
Take my spandex and walk away.
That's okay. That's the best view of them.
That's right.
So yeah, the flat Earth thing is, we started joking about it, and I was, Garrett and I have just shared so many memes, about.
So this is making a resurgence. I think it's a thing to mention there is I think it kind of really started in the NBA more than anything. That there are a couple NBA players that honestly believe in this.
Yeah.
And they actually brought Shaq into it. Did you guys hear about Shaq on the radio?
Oh no.
So a couple younger NBA players that say they believe in flat Earth, and of course kids are young and impressionable and will run with whatever their role models say. And if all of your role models skip as much college as possible so that they can make millions of dollars bouncing a ball around, then you get what you get. And that's the way it is.
Please don't tell me that Shaq is on board with this shit.
So they asked Shaq what he thought about it, and he said something to the effect of, "Listen, I took a long car trip, and I drove from like Arizona to Florida or something like that." And he's like, "I drove the entire time," and he's like, "As far as I could tell, like it looks flat. I couldn't tell I was going over any circles or anything like that. I didn't feel like I was moving. It looks flat to me." And he's like, I don't know what else to say. I'm tall. I've got a good view of things, whatever. And so he just kind of ran with it, and they grilled him on it a couple more times, and finally he was like, "Okay, listen, do you really believe this bullshit?" He's like, "I'm joking. Come on,
Okay,
get
good.
a break."
Because if this was the case, so I
I
don't
believed it though.
Disclaimer: I don't know Shaq. I have a connection to Shaq. So one of the
Let me guess, you owned Shaq Fu in 1996.
I did, but
eHarmony.com.
and it may be in that box over there in the corner. Not saying it
Did you and
is.
Shaq match on Tinder?
Yes.
On Farmers Only.
Was it Tinder or Grinder?
It was. It was.
Big difference.
It was
Very
the tin
important.
grinder. It was taller. No, so
What are you, like a petite 6'2" on there or something
yeah,
like that?
it was he likes short guys. No, so one of the girls that I went to high school with, her husband trained Shaq down in Florida. So, and they're really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
I would reach out to Jonathan and be like, you need to have a serious conversation with Shaq.
Why don't you reach out to Jonathan and see if Shaq wants to be on our podcast?
Because Shaq has his own podcast that does a hell of a lot better than ours.
And we just accused him of being on Grinder.
Yeah.
First off, Shaquille O'Neal, since you are listening, I'm sure, I did not accuse you of anything, and I loved Shaq Fu.
I
love
the Fushnickens were amazing, and Shaq Fu and all the. I mean, I had a friend named Bubba who wore nothing but
I also loved you in
Fila.
Shazam.
My favorite moment in freestyle rap was the Kobe How My Ass Tastes thing. So, and I watched 8 Mile, so that's saying something.
That's
I
saying a
have
lot if you watched 8 Mile. And
extensive knowledge.
But
watched 8 Mile and you don't know what malt liquor is.
But yeah, I would definitely reach out to Jonathan and be like, you need to have a conversation with Shaq about this whole flat earther thing and get him back on board with the earth is round and we have pictures from space.
So we're all, I think we're all, like, when we really come down to it seriously, we know that the flat earth stuff is bullcrap, right?
I don't know, is it?
That's what I'm saying. Where do we stand as individuals?
So I'll be honest here. I went down this rabbit hole.
Yes, me too. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I know
I get-
that's why you're here today.
Yes, this is why you brought me in. I joined a flat Earth group on Facebook.
And what was the name of is it just called Flat Earthers?
That was the beginning of it. That was
Okay.
a half of it. The first half was Flat Earthers. The second half was For Christ. So in the Flat Earthers for Christ group, their basis was that the Earth is flat.
Right, obviously.
The
way Jesus made it.
the way it was described in the book of Genesis. Spoiler alert, it's really not, but okay. But their idea was that in the King James Bible, that the earth is basically described as flat, that God created the earth to be flat, and then since then, that the devil, in a way to twist the world and to taint it and make it more bent on evil purposes, I suppose, they push this lie of a round earth, and that all of the lies to pull you away from God and to pull you away from believing in this God is based around the fact that the earth isn't flat as he created, but instead it's a circle, it's a globe that goes through this outer space that doesn't really exist.
So Satan's ultimate lie to all of mankind. Now, whether you believe in heaven, hell, God, or Satan or not, we're going to all play devil's advocate, I
Globists.
guess. Globus here.
Globalist advocates.
So, God, the omnipotent, the almighty, created earth. Flat.
Yes.
Lucifer, one of God's right-hand man, his BFF Rose, screwed up. God said, you're going to hell. You now have no power here. You have no control over anything.
Yep.
You're going to go reign in hell.
And that's why there are snakes in
So-
Kentucky. Go on.
Right. So Lucifer's
And bourbon.
less bourbon now.
Shut up.
So
Dick.
Lucifer's ultimate ploy to rob mankind of the glory of heaven is to make them believe the earth is round.
Yeah, I mean, he was pulling geometry into it, which is kind of a dick move if you're honest.
Yeah, well,
Spheres
Well,
are
the
way
Earth
more-
isn't technically round.
I got
It's more
110% geometry.
oblong.
Yeah.
oblong, more football shaped than basketball shaped. Is that what you're telling me?
It's
more of an egg.
Yeah, it's more oval.
It's like an island almost, or whatever. Yeah.
Oval,
Oval.
which stems
O-V-A-L.
from the word ovarian of
Oval.
Greek mythology, which means that women rule the earth.
It's like
There's a bloodline of Jesus Christ because I read about that in a book too.
it's kind of like the man in the
In
boat.
deep.
Hashtag I'm with her.
No, I can't imagine. You know, I did grow up in church, and I was told, you know, obviously I grew up learning Bible stories, and as I got older, I kind of looked more into Christian faith myself, and I never once have thought, you know, God definitely made the earth, and He definitely made it round, or definitely made it flat. I've never ever seen any mention of the earth being flat in the Bible anywhere, and I've read it pretty extensively.
So if you look, oh sorry, go.
I was gonna say I would say the same thing. I've probably perused through the Bible 2 or 3 times, and I have never once anywhere
Right.
seen a mention where it said this shit is flat.
So the passages that they've used, and I can't even remember them off the top of my head, but the passages they use would be kind of like if we look out your window here and we're looking across the land, a lot of this like flat kind of farmland type stuff, and the same way that you would say that, you know, your front yard is flat,
Yeah.
or that this town is flat, was kind of the passages that they used. I mean, it was very obvious that the context was showing that they were talking about their particular region. They weren't talking about the entire world or the entire universe as they knew it being flat. That all they were saying was, "Hey, it's flat out here," you know,
Well,
or "Hey, there's
Yeah.
you go from one end to the other." I think that was part of it. You know, they talk about like the corners of the earth or something along those lines, or from one end of the earth to the other. Whereas anybody who's reasonable would realize that they're talking about, you know, kind of hyperbole there, where
Okay.
they're exaggerating to make a point, and instead these people were saying, no, this is absolutely the way it is, and
They're trying to take it at word.
Yeah, absolutely, taking it at word. They'll argue about which King James version of the Bible that you're allowed to use, and you know, not to get too far into it, but the passages that you have in your Bible that you buy today were written within a few hundred years after Jesus walked the earth, like 2,000 years ago. King James didn't come out until like 1400. I mean, that's the English Bible. It was written in Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic.
So what's Christopher Columbus's excuse?
So Columbus wanted to go just enslave
he was
a
supposed-
bunch of villagers. Did you ever hear the story about him and the moon?
Wait,
What he did
hold
with
on.
the eclipse?
Hold on. That's for another show.
Christopher Columbus and the moon?
No, did you ever hear about this?
No, but I want
So-
to. How much time do we have? Because I got a flat earther
we're,
Bible verse.
we're at 48.
Okay, let's finish the flat earther, but we're coming back to write this down. Christopher Columbus and the moon.
This is a good story. It's a dick move, but it's a good story, I suppose. So, anyway, yeah, the basis of this whole flat Earth thing is that it's all a lie. That everything that NASA does is a lie. It's a government.
Right.
It's a world government conspiracy. All of the pictures you see are stitched together.
Which one NASA employee supposedly said.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
Because
what
he's
they.
like, we only take so many pictures, so we just take different images and put them together.
Right.
Which
And one other
makes
thing they
sense.
do is when you see the pictures of these big like nebulas and supernovas and all of these stars and the clouds and stuff that they're colored, they say that they'll tell you they color them to make them pretty so that you can see what's going on.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's a bunch of just like white light. It would almost look like a black and white picture. So,
Right.
so they put these pretty blues and reds in. And by admitting that they've done that,
They assume it's gender.
these people say that it's just completely, you know, the whole thing is
Everything's fake.
photoshopped. It's all fake. All the pictures of the Earth are fake.
And that's what one of the videos I watched said about the you know, everything that you see of Earth is a picture from NASA taken from space, but then the guy from NASA, supposedly, I'd never looked up and see if he really was like, yeah, we have to Photoshop it because it's round and it's big, and we take so many pictures, and then we just piece it together, and there's sometimes gaps.
Right.
But
the gaps in
astronauts
motion
have taken the
between the-
photos
I-
from the space station.
Yep. Well, that's fake too.
Look, when I share it on Instagram,
Hey, if the
I
moon
add a
landing's
filter
fake, the
to
space
it.
station can be fake too. Yeah, you had to filter your Instagram filters.
You gotta make it fit in the square.
Right.
So
Oh, I've
Which is
got
flat.
my phone's set
So,
up for that already.
Here's a Bible verse I found about flat Earth, and I'm just going to read this in a quick paragraph after. They use Matthew 4:8, which says, "Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory." So this gentleman who's wrote this article says, notice this mountain was very high. In the Greek here, the word is houpsalos, and means literally high or lofty. Into that the Greek word very, which is lian. And we now have a very intentional description. He says if the world's a ball, the higher one goes, the less one would be seeing because the curvature would constantly be falling, and you'd have to look further and further down. But if it's flat, the higher you go, the more you see because the horizon stays at eye level. That's what they're basing this off of.
Oh yeah, and I'm like,
they're taking like very literal descriptions, plucking verses out of passages, and twisting them like I've never seen.
And joining this group, like these people didn't just believe the flat Earth conspiracy; they believed all the conspiracy theories. They believed that the moon landing was faked. They believed that 9/11 was done by the Jews.
The Jews?
The Jews did it. I remember seeing a meme with 9/11 happening, and they had superimposed a picture of like a rabbi with like the braided like pigtails things that they do like underneath it, that it was their fault. They believe in the lizard people. They believe basically if you can name conspiracy theory as ridiculous or outlandish as it is, they bought into all of them. But I'd
love to meet one of these people because growing up in church and traveling churches, you meet a lot of people, but I've never met one.
There were several in the group from Columbus. So
Orthodox Jews took down the towers.
Yeah.
Yes.
The earth is flat.
And the earth is flat.
Yes. Because God made it that way. Right.
Mind blown. Right.
Ocean.
So, damn. Trying to think, just going into some of the things that they believe, the sun and the moon are two separate lights.
Okay.
NASA would tell you that the moon's not a light; it just reflects. It just
reflects the sun.
But yeah, they're two separate lights that you basically, if you think of your Earth being a map that you lay out on the table, the North Pole is in the middle, and in Antarctica is the sides. So like the whole outer rim that holds everything in, and it's an ice wall.
They just described Middle Earth.
Yes. Which
Hold
was in the King James Bible, or no? I forget.
I don't know.
R.R. Tolkien.
Basically, what they're saying is, you know what? The Earth is flat if you take out one slice of the center.
Yeah, yeah. So
Earth.
So they lay it out.
Slice of it out and say that's flat.
The sun is a spotlight, the moon is a spotlight, and they hang. I think it's like 40 miles above the surface of the Earth. Like they're only like 40 miles up. They're not that far. Not nearly as far as they would tell you.
What causes the temperatures to get hotter and colder?
Basically, the sun and the moon travel around the Earth, and it's kind of hard to describe on a podcast. But if you can imagine, like
it's like in a clock motion,
clock motion, yeah. Like if I think of like the things you'd look at that spin to hypnotize you, how they kind of go out further and further, like a spiral. Yeah. So they move in that spiral kind of pattern, which causes some of your seasons and all of that stuff, and that's why it's still dark in some places and light in some places at the same time.
So how is it that Alaska gets so much daylight and then so little daylight from season to season if we're flat? Because Alaska, I think it's one part of the season they get like 23 hours of daylight, and then the other time they get like 6.
Yeah, Loch Ness blocks out the sun.
Oh, okay.
So the monster.
So Loch Ness is definitely real. Okay.
Yes, it's a shade. It's basically an umbrella. Trying to think of what else of the good stuff. Gravity doesn't exist because the firmament of the Earth. That's just flat is actually constantly moving upward into space at like 7 miles a second or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's not gravity pulling you into the center of the Earth like they would teach us in school, but instead the Earth is just moving up from underneath you, catching you all the time. And that's what causes you to stick to the ground.
Well, why does the Earth move up faster for me than you two?
These fucking nut jobs.
Because here's the thing: if the Earth is just moving us up, why do we all weigh so much differently? Is it because of the mass? Like my mass is far greater than yours, but if the Earth's moving up at the same speed, shouldn't it be the same force on two bodies?
Don't get all scientific on this.
I'm trying to, but I don't think I am actually, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Then we're all on the same page here.
Okay.
Bicyclist.
Get him.
Sorry, there's a bicyclist.
Hello,
just
friend.
Right up the street.
Garrett's out here trying to make a buddy, and Martelle's about to get a paintball gun, snipe him or her. I definitely saw party pants roll by the window.
Go get my Barrett 50 cal that I shot a couple weeks ago.
So what happened with these flat earthers, Garett? How deep were they willing to go to prove their theory?
This is where I kind of got myself into trouble as I went into this, and I start seeing a lot of these people who are.
How far did you go into this? Because you joined it because it was ironic at first, right?
I joined it because I thought it sounded silly. Obviously, you've never thought about. Most people never even give this a second thought. I learned a few years ago that there was something called the Flat Earth Society, and that they had something like 15 members or something like that. That nobody took them seriously. They weren't anything. And then it starts kind of coming back up. Thanks to the internet, where crazy people can meet other crazy people, and there are people everywhere who will believe anything. So I joined a group, and I just was like, I want to know more about this. I've got some questions. How do you explain this? How do you explain this? And they have an answer for almost everything. The problem is that a lot of it is their fallback is always government agents. So they'll talk about how if you're on an airplane, if an airplane is flying flat, at a level trajectory, yes, that if that's the case, then the airplane should just fly straight off the Earth, because it would have to be constantly nudging itself down to stay in line with the Earth. So they'll ask questions about that. They'll talk about where you look through a telescope at a building that's far away, over a trajectory, and that you can still see the building, so that proves there's not as much curvature.
But I stood on a tower when I was down in Myrtle Beach, and I could see the curvature over the ocean.
That was the bourbon.
No, I was sober.
Actually, I was going to say, I went to tag you. Maybe that's when I found out your Facebook was deactivated. I went to tag you because there was one that was a picture from
I tagged
the
you
top
today.
of Everest or Kilimanjaro or something.
I can't see it.
And he doesn't care because he didn't see it.
Well.
And no, but it was showing the curvature of the Earth from the top of some mountain.
So what they'll argue is that there's a fisheye lens on the camera, especially if it's from an airplane or anything like that. That people will say that if you're in an airplane and you say you see curvature, it's because your window is curved.
But I saw it with my eyeball.
Your eyes are playing tricks on you.
My eye has a fisheye?
Probably something that that probably
got me.
is.
You don't have flat eyes.
We'll get into the flat eye theory next week. But and they would have
a eye in your Christmas gift.
I'm going to look for one on Amazon.
That would join this group, and they would be like, hey, just want to let you know this is wrong. This is wrong. There's such and such of a math equation and such that proves that I can show that this whatever. And they'd all be like, you're just lying. You just work for the government. They've brainwashed you. And that was the end of the argument. So that was a good way to shut them down. But what really came down to it was a Christian group. These people thought that they were doing the Lord's work.
See, I hate the label Christian.
Yeah.
I love it with these people.
Yeah, it made me made me feel.
I believe in Christ, but good night, man. There's some freaking wackos out there.
I love it.
So we have people getting on there, and they're like, "Hey guys, just wanted to give you a prayer request. Just need you to pray for me because things are not going well in my marriage right now.
Okay.
We went to dinner with my in-laws, and I tried to tell them about the flat Earth, and they didn't want to hear it. And my wife's dad called me some names, and I told him that, he had been lied to and that he was brainwashed. And he called me more names, and we got into a big fight, and we yelled at each other. And now my wife's family wants her to leave me, and she's thinking she might do it. And I'm like, okay, this has gone a little far, right?
Right.
And it wasn't just that there was one. I mean, it was multiple. There were tons of them where it was like, hey, I told my parents about this, and they're mad at me, and I yelled at them about it, and now they're going to kick me out of the house, and all of this stuff. And it was just like, okay, this has gone from a conspiracy theory or something that you believe may be true, and it's gone into something that is genuinely tearing your family apart. There are people who aren't going to see their kids because of how intense this belief is, and more than just the belief, they won't keep their mouths shut about it.
This is right up there with Scientology.
Yeah, but I see Scientology is like the government. I think there's so much we don't know about it.
Well, Tom Cruise isn't allowed to see his daughter Siri.
I know they're all freaking nuts, man. They really are.
Well, right.
I'm sure I'll catch some flack for saying I believe in Christ, but Scientologists are nuts. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't. Get on Facebook and tell me how dumb I am. And then
They're
share
all
with your
nuts.
But dude, the fact
Holy
that
shit.
they believe the flat earthers believe to an extent that they're willing to lose their family or a career or whatever. It's worse than it's like, they always say like a CrossFitter that cycles to work and is vegan would talk less about all of that than flat earthers. I feel.
Yeah.
No offense.
Oh,
No offense to
okay.
Martelle, who's a
No.
CrossFitter, and Garett, who's a cyclist, and I am definitely not a vegan. But no, it's like you see all those memes about, if a vegan's a vegan and doesn't tell you, are they really vegan and all this, But I feel like the flat earthers are going, we're not only going to tell everybody about it and post about our workout or post about where we rode or what we ate, which I've done in the past, I ain't going to lie. But they're like, we're going to alienate ourselves from our families because of it. That's a different level of crazy.
That's a whole nother level of crazy.
You tell me you do CrossFit, and I'm like, cool, whatever.
Well,
You
and
see
I
on
think
Facebook, cool, whatever.
from the Christian angle as well, I understand that it's a religious thing, but Jesus walked on water. Like people were risen from the dead. Somebody touched his robe and she was healed of this like hemorrhage that she had. All of those things to me are crazier to believe than a flat earth.
Really?
That this guy was crucified and was in the earth for 3 days and came back to life and rose up to heaven. Why wouldn't the devil or whatever try to push away that lie as opposed to
He was too busy teaching geometry.
something as wild as
Right.
geometric.
Oh, so you're
flat
saying if the devil was trying to use something, it would be like, hey, this is really crazy if you think about it. There's no way somebody spent 3 days living in a fish,
yeah.
for Jesus.
To me, that would be the angle I would take. Now, I'm not the devil, but
As far as we know.
allegedly. But
Where
yeah.
have you been these last 4 weeks?
Honestly, I think it was Thanos. I think he just flattened the Earth with his gauntlet.
See,
with the Infinity
everybody-
Gauntlet.
I posted a meme and everybody's like, that. It was a picture of a truck that was all messed up and modified, and like the front bumper looked like corrugated cardboard or something. Everybody's like, it looks like Thanos. I have no clue who that is because I haven't watched any of those movies. Is that the dude with the chin ripples?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, there you go.
you're a disappointment.
Is this a soccer player?
Okay.
Or
Right. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
Brazilian soccer player, I
He's
think.
purple.
He's in the World Cup recently.
Yeah.
I'm on Sports Center
He
8.
fell down, grabbed his shin. I just
Peter-
described every
Peter
soccer
Griffin.
player.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the flat earthers, I mean,
Anyway.
obviously, I have no
Wah, 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 wah.
problem saying I do not believe the Earth's flat at all. I do think that one video in particular, and I can't remember if I shared it with you or not, I thought was very interesting the way they presented it, because I thought every flat earther should get on board with this guy, because that made more sense than everybody else, but it was still completely illogical.
So, are we all in agreement that the Earth is in fact round?
Yeah, I think
round.
the Earth is definitely round.
No, yeah.
So here's something that'll mess you up.
Yes, I'm so happy Garrett's back.
So go to YouTube and look up videos of weather balloons with cameras on them.
Get on Facebook and link me.
So it's
Well,
it's,
we'll just have to put it in the show notes.
there you go.
I mean, you can
Make a
Google
note of
any
that.
of them. That way, you can find your own. Don't think that I'm leading you to one particular video, whatever. There's tons of them.
That's a real nice way of getting out. Have to do the work for me.
Oh no, absolutely. So, what's weird is you can look at people in airplanes flying at like 30,000 feet,
Okay.
and the Earth looks curved from
Right.
there. And I've heard people say that you can see a curve from the Earth at like 30 or 40,000 feet. That
Okay.
it's obvious enough that you can see it with the naked eye. However, if you look at an airplane, or if you look at the videos of these weather balloons, and they'll go up to 100,000 feet, 120,000 feet, 140,000 feet, and they keep going higher and higher, and the videos are like 20 minutes long. You can just kind of skim through them and watch. When you watch those, it doesn't look like there's a curve. And it really does mess with you, because it's
Well-
like this never appears to start curving outward.
We'll have to take a look at that.
I'm gonna have to look at that. See, that's one of those things where I'm like, I fully believe the Earth's round, but then I watch a video and I'm like, okay, I still believe it's round, but this is interesting.
So to me, it's kind of like the moon landing, almost how most people are with the moon landing, where it's like, yeah, maybe they faked it, but that's a really out there idea. Or with 9/11, like, yeah, maybe the government did it, but it seems really out there. That's almost where that pushed me to with the flat Earth,
Yeah.
where there's that little bit of doubt that I have, where it's like, man, maybe there really is something to it. It's not 100% crazy, but it's about 98 or 99% crazy. But when you watch those videos of the weather balloons, I don't see a curve a lot of times, and it's like everything else tells me that the Earth is round, but that one little thing is like, man, looks
So
pretty
how do we
level
know
to me.
those videos aren't fake?
They maybe are.
All right.
That's interesting. I'm gonna look that up.
Well, with that, we will add that to the show notes so that we can take a look at that. We are going to do some research on these topics. We're going to look into a couple more topics as well.
Underground lizard people.
Underground lizard people.
Giants that the militaries had to kill.
We had the giant. Yeah, that was one that came up a couple weeks ago that we were going to look into. We had a request for the pro sports and
Pro sports are all faked and rigged.
the rigging of pro sports and conspiracy on that. We got the ones that we wrote down here: the Avril Lavigne conspiracy, the Kurt Cobain Rivers Cuomo one. Then we've got Area 51 aliens and UFOs, cryptozoology, MK Ultra, which is one that came up.
I love malt liquor.
Malt liquor, and why the conspiracy of Garett not knowing what malt liquor
I'm
is.
never going to see MD4040 the same again.
I've used WD-40, so
Okay, so you know about WD-40.
Yes.
But you don't know what MD4040 is. That's what the government made. It's a spinoff of WD-40. They put it in urban areas to keep the man down.
Oh.
Or the man stays up to keep the people down.
I don't know.
It's something like that. They're all brainwashed by the government.
Yeah, through the MK Ultra program.
Mad Dog 4040 program.
The Mad Dog 4040 program. So with that, you can find me on Instagram at Martelle or on Facebook at Martelle or AKA Martelle.
Instagram at Chieftain Forge. It's not my name. It's more of what I do.
Right.
Or a side project, my side piece, if you will.
His hustle.
My side hustle.
His side hustle.
Got to keep up.
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at GAR2710.
Cool.
At GAR2710. And if you're into politics, Make America Garrett again.
Oh.
It's Garrett with just one
He's
R.
starting it now.
Garrett
with just one R.
He's gonna be.
He's a waste of time.
Running for mayor of Reynoldsburg.
Oh no, he's going full on to the top. He's going to be president.
I'm legitimately thinking about running as a write-in candidate for president.
Do it.
Do it.
We'll see.
All right. Like I said, we're going to do some research on some of these, and future episodes we'll have some more information on our thoughts on some of this conspiracy theory things.
You were doing so good.
I know. Damn. So with that, we will. Make sure you like, share, comment, tell a friend. Leave a comment on iTunes because I don't think you can do it on Google Play yet.
Leave some reviews.
Leave a review. Tell us what you think.
Oh, and I got a quick shout out to my car buddies. I want to give a shout out to Gurgles, a.k.a. the Greg. He has been a big advocate for us and
Sweet.
giving a lot of feedback and telling folks. So, Greg, thank you. Mitch, I thank you for listening to 10 minutes of each episode, which means you won't hear this one because he says an hour is way too long. And all the other guys from Columbus Racing. So, thank you.
Nice. Thanks, guys, and we will talk to you later.
Hey, can I take these handcuffs off now?
No.
Podcast.
Nope. See you guys.
Peace.